The great hall of the palace was made of crystal that sang when light touched it. Thousands of alien nobles stood in perfect rows, their blue skin glowing softly in the way their species always did. They were tall, beautiful, and proud. They had ruled 12-star systems for 10,000 years, and today they were laughing at a human. Cole stood in the center of the hall. He was shorter than everyone around him. His skin did not glow. His mind could not touch other minds the way theirs could. By their standards, he was primitive, a creature from a young world that had only discovered space travel 200 years ago. But had done something no other human had managed. He had stopped a war. 3 months ago, the Dominion was ready to destroy a small planet called New Haven. 60 million humans lived there. The planet belonged to them. Old maps proved it, they claimed. Had been sent to negotiate. Everyone expected him to fail. Everyone expected war. Instead, spent weeks studying law. He found old records that even they had forgotten. He proved that their own ancient rules said the planet was free territory. He did not fight. He did not threaten. He simply showed them the truth, and the respected truth above all things. The war never happened. Now High Sovereign sat on his throne of living crystal, looking down at the small human with something like respect. The sovereign was ancient by any measure. His glow was deep purple, showing his royal blood. When he spoke, his voice filled the hall without effort. "Coal of Earth," the sovereign said, "you have given my people a gift. You showed us our own forgotten wisdom. You saved us from a war that would have cost us greatly, even in victory. For this, I offer you a reward that no outsider has ever received." The sovereign raised one long hand. At his signal, 6 figures walked into the hall from a side chamber. The crowd made sounds of appreciation as the 6 daughters of the sovereign appeared. They were magnificent. Each one was taller than by 2 heads. Their skin glowed in different colors, showing different gifts. The first had golden light and was said to command emotions with a thought. The second glowed silver and could see possible futures. The third, fourth, and fifth had other powers, other beauties. The sixth was pale blue and could speak directly into any mind across vast distances. These were the most desired females in 12-star systems. Wars had been fought for the chance to marry into the sovereign's bloodline. "Choose one of my daughters, man," the sovereign said. "Marry her and your people will be joined to mine forever. This is my gift to you." Looked at each daughter carefully. They stood proud and beautiful, waiting to be chosen. They smiled at him, and he felt their minds brush against his, showing him visions of power and pleasure. Any man would have fallen to his knees before them, but was looking for something else. He had learned much about them during his time here. He knew that they valued telepathy above all things. Those who could touch minds strongly were considered blessed. Those who could not were considered broken. He had heard whispers about a 7th daughter. The servants spoke of her only when they thought no one was listening. They called her the dim one, the empty girl. She was kept away from important events because she brought shame to the royal family. Looked past the 6 glowing daughters. He looked toward the shadows at the edge of the hall, and there, sitting alone on a small bench, he saw her. She was smaller than her sisters. Her skin did not glow at all. It was a flat, dull gray like stone that had never seen the sun. She sat with her hands folded in her lap, watching everything with large, dark eyes. She did not try to touch his mind. She simply observed. While her sisters performed and posed, she studied. While they tried to charm him, she tried to understand him. Walked forward. The crowd expected him to stop before the golden daughter or perhaps the silver one. Instead, he walked past all 6 of them. The nobles began to murmur. The daughters looked confused. Stopped in front of the 7th daughter. She looked up at him with surprise on her face. No one had ever looked at her this way. No one had ever walked toward her instead of away. "This one," said loudly, "I choose this one." The hall went silent for one moment. Then the laughter began. It started with a few nobles, then spread like fire. Soon the whole hall was laughing. Even some of the 6 daughters covered their mouths and giggled. The sound echoed off the crystal walls and grew until it was almost deafening. "Surely you jest," the sovereign said. He was not laughing, but he looked deeply confused. "She is defective. Her mind is closed. She cannot share thoughts or feelings. She is in body only." "I do not jest," said. He kept his eyes on the gray daughter. "I have made my choice." "You could have power," the sovereign pressed. "My eldest can command armies with her mind. My second can guide you away from danger before it arrives. What can this one give you? Nothing. She is empty." Extended his hand toward the 7th daughter. "I have made my choice," he said again. The daughter looked at his hand. No one had ever offered her a hand before. She was always the one who was left behind, forgotten, ignored. She was the mistake that the royal family kept hidden. Slowly, carefully, she placed her hand in his. The moment their skin touched, felt something unexpected. Warmth, real warmth. They were cold-blooded. Their skin was always cool to the touch, but her hand was warm against his, almost like a human hand. She felt it too. Her eyes went wide with shock. "What is your name?" asked her gently. She whispered. It was the first word she had spoken in the hall. Repeated, "Will you come with me?" She stood slowly. She was still shorter than her sisters, but standing straight, she had a quiet dignity that they lacked. She had spent her whole life being mocked. She had learned to carry herself with grace anyway. "Yes," she said. The laughter in the hall slowly faded. The nobles watched as the strange human led the defective daughter toward the door. No one quite knew what to say. Only the sovereign noticed something that troubled him. As walked beside the human, her eyes moved constantly. She was watching everything, seeing everything, understanding everything. It was not the empty gaze of a broken mind. It was the sharp gaze of a hunter. The sovereign felt a strange chill pass through him. For the first time in centuries, he wondered if he had made a mistake. The diplomatic ship Terran Dawn moved through the stars at speeds that would have seemed like magic to humans just 3 centuries ago. Inside, Cole sat across from his new bride in a small observation room. Outside the window, distant suns moved slowly past like fireflies in an endless night. Had not spoken much since they left her home world. She spent most of her time watching. She watched the human crew as they worked. She watched the way they talked to each other, laughed with each other, touched each other on the shoulder or arm. They did not touch casually. They did not need to. They shared thoughts directly. But could not share thoughts. She had never been able to. "You are wondering why I chose you," said finally, when the silence between them had grown too long. Turned her dark eyes toward him. "Everyone is wondering that," she said. "Your crew thinks you are foolish. They try to hide it, but I can see it in the way they look at me." "You can see that," leaned forward with interest. "How? You cannot read their minds." "I do not need to read minds," said. "I read faces. I read bodies. When your pilot looks at me, his shoulders tighten and his eyes move away quickly. That means discomfort. When your doctor sees me, she tilts her head and narrows her eyes. That means curiosity mixed with doubt. These things are easy to see if you pay attention." Smiled. "Most never learn to pay attention that way. They do not need to." "Most can hear thoughts like you hear voices," replied. There was old pain in her words. "I was born deaf to the only language my people speak. I had to learn other ways to understand the world." For the first time, saw her clearly. She was not defective. She was adapted. She had grown up in a world where everyone could speak without words, and she had taught herself to listen in different ways. While her sisters floated through life on currents of shared thought, had learned to swim against the current alone. "That is why I chose you," said. Looked confused. "Because I am broken." "Because you are not broken at all. Your sisters are beautiful and powerful, but when I watched them, I saw performers. They smiled because they knew I wanted them to smile. They posed because they could feel what poses I would admire. They were mirrors, reflecting what I wanted to see. Stood and walked to the window. But you were different. You sat in the shadows and watched. You were not trying to please me. You were trying to understand me. That is much more valuable. Was quiet for a long moment. No one had ever spoken to her this way. Her whole life, she had been the embarrassment, the mistake, the daughter who should have been killed at birth according to old customs. Only her mother had protected her, hiding her true condition until it was too late to dispose of her quietly. Her mother had died 5 years ago. Since then, had been completely alone. "You are strange for a human," she finally said. Laughed. "I will take that as a compliment." A sudden alarm interrupted them. Red lights flashed and a loud noise filled the ship. Ran to the communication panel on the wall. "What is happening?" he demanded. The voice of Captain Torres came through the speaker. "Pirates, Ambassador. 3 ships just dropped out of hyperspace ahead of us. They are demanding we surrender." "Can we fight them?" "We are a diplomatic vessel. We have some weapons but not enough, and we cannot outrun them." Felt his heart sink. Pirates in this sector were known for their cruelty. They would take the ship, sell the crew as slaves, and probably ransom him back to Earth for a huge price. As for a royal daughter would be worth a fortune on the black market. "Show me the tactical display," said. A hologram appeared in the air, showing their ship and the 3 pirate vessels. The pirates were arranged in a triangle formation, blocking any escape route. It was a standard hunting pattern. Stood and walked to the display. She studied it with the same intense focus she had given to studying the crew. Her eyes moved quickly, taking in every detail. "The middle ship is the leader," she said suddenly. Looked at her. "How do you know?" "The formation. The other 2 ships adjust their positions based on the middle one. When the middle ship moves, they follow. Also, the middle ship has the most damage marks on its hull. That means it has survived many battles. A new captain would fly a newer ship. This captain keeps the old ship because it has meaning to him." Stared at her. She had learned all of this in seconds just by looking. "What else can you see?" he asked. Pointed to the ship on the left of the formation. "This one is slow to respond. See how it moved 2 seconds after the others when they changed direction. The pilot is either inexperienced or the ship has engine problems. And this one on the right is too far forward. The pilot is eager, probably young. He wants glory." A plan began to form in his mind. If we targeted the right ship first with everything we have, what would happen? Thought for a moment. The eager pilot would try to prove himself. He would attack us directly instead of waiting for orders. That would break the formation. The slow ship on the left would not be able to support him quickly enough, and the leader would have to choose between helping his pilot or maintaining position. And if we ran at that exact moment, straight toward the gap, "We might escape," said slowly. "The odds are not good, but they are better than surrender." Smiled grimly and opened the communication channel again. "Captain Torres, I have a plan." 5 minutes later, the Terran Dawn fired everything it had at the right pirate ship. Just as predicted, the eager pilot charged forward alone. The slow ship tried to follow but fell behind. The leader hesitated for 1 crucial second. The Terran Dawn dove through the gap and jumped to hyperspace. When they were safe, Captain Torres came to the observation room. She looked at with new respect. "That was incredible flying, Ambassador. How did you know the formation would break like that?" Nodded toward. She knew. She saw it. Captain Torres looked at the gray-skinned woman with surprise. Everyone on the ship had thought she was simple, broken, useless. Now they were alive because of her. But something else happened after the escape. One of the pirates had been captured during the brief fight, pulled aboard by accident when his small boarding pod was caught in their shields. Went to see the prisoner in the holding cell. The pirate was a rough-looking alien with skin and mechanical eyes. He had been defiant and rude to everyone who questioned him. But when brought to the cell, the pirate's attitude changed completely. The color drained from his face. His mechanical eyes went wide with what could only be terror. "Impossible," the pirate whispered. "The architects were supposed to be extinct." "What did you call her?" demanded. But the pirate would not say another word. He just stared at with the look of a man who had seen a ghost. That night sat alone in her quarters and looked at her hands. They were still warm, warmer than any hands should be. She had always thought it was another sign of her defect. Now she wondered if it was something else entirely. The moon had no name on any official map. It circled a dead planet in a forgotten system that no one visited anymore. But beneath its gray surface, hidden from the rest of the galaxy, was one of the oldest libraries in existence, and stood at the entrance of the underground chamber. Rows of crystal pillars stretched into the darkness, each one containing thousands of years of history. Most of this knowledge had been erased from public records long ago. It existed only here, in this secret place that few knew about. They had come because of one word: architects. The pirate had refused to explain what he meant, but had contacts throughout the galaxy, people who owed him favors from his years of diplomatic work. One of those contacts, an old information dealer named Vex, had heard the word before. "The architects are a myth," Vex had told them through a secure communication channel. "A legend from before the Dominion existed. If you want to know more, there is only one place to look: the Moon Library, but be careful. Some knowledge is buried for a reason." Now they walked through the dark halls of that library, ran her fingers over the crystal pillars as they passed. Each touch activated the stored information, filling the air with holographic images and ancient text. "These records are over 1,000,000 years old," she whispered. "I did not know my people kept anything this ancient." "What are we looking for?" asked. "I do not know yet, but I think I will recognize it when I see it." They searched for hours. Most of the records were ordinary history, lists of rulers and wars and treaties, but then found a section that was different. The crystals here were darker than the others, almost black. Warning symbols were carved into the floor around them. "This area was sealed," said. "Someone went a great effort to make sure these records were never found." She touched the first black crystal. The hologram that appeared was not like the others. It showed a different kind of. These ancient people did not glow. Their skin was solid colors, gray and brown and tan, and they were building things. Massive things. The hologram showed structures that could not fully understand. Spheres the size of planets, surrounding entire stars. Doorways that led to other dimensions. Machines that could reshape matter with a thought. The ancient built wonders that made modern technology look like children's toys. The architects breathed. They were real. More images followed. The architects built an empire that spanned 1,000 galaxies. They could create anything they imagined. They were like gods. But then the images changed. They showed war. The architects' creations had become weapons. They fought each other with machines that could destroy stars, erase planets from existence, tear holes in the fabric of space itself. Billions died in a war that lasted 10,000 years. At the end, only a small group of architects remained. They gathered on their home world and made a terrible decision. "We have become monsters," the hologram showed an ancient saying. "Our gift for creation has become a curse. We must change ourselves or we will destroy everything that exists." They used their own technology to rewrite their species. They removed the genes that gave them their building gifts. In place of those abilities, they engineered something new: telepathy. The ability to share thoughts, to feel what others feel, to be connected in ways that made war between them almost impossible. The architects became But the change was not perfect. Sometimes a child was born who carried the old genes. These throwbacks had no telepathy, but they had something else. They had the architect's gift, the ability to see how things worked. the ability to build. These throwbacks are dangerous, the hologram continued. They must be identified and eliminated. If even one survives, they could rebuild the weapons that nearly destroyed us. The peace we have created depends on their extinction. The hologram faded and stood in darkness. That is what I am, said softly. An architect. My people have been killing people like me for 1,000,000 years. Put his hand on her shoulder. How many others have there been? I do not know, but my mother knew. His voice was shaking now. She died protecting my secret. She knew what I was, and she let everyone believe I was simply defective. Being defective meant shame. Being an architect meant death. Thought about everything he had seen. The way could analyze a battle in seconds. The way she understood machines after just one look. The warmth of her hands, so different from the cold-blooded norm. You are not a monster, he said firmly. You are not a weapon. You are a person who was born with an incredible gift. What you do with that gift is your choice, not theirs. But the architects destroyed almost everything, said. What if I have that same potential for destruction inside me? The architects also built wonders, pointed out. They created things that could reshape reality. That power is not evil by itself. It was what they chose to do with it that mattered. Looked at him with tears in her dark eyes. You really believe that? Humans have a saying, said. We say that every tool can be a weapon and every weapon can be a tool. A knife can kill or it can prepare food for hungry people. Fire can burn down forests or keep families warm. The thing itself is not good or evil, only the choices we make with it. Before could respond, alarms began to echo through the library. Red lights flashed from hidden sensors. Someone has found us, said. They ran to the library's entrance and looked up at the sky through the transparent dome. Ships were dropping out of hyperspace above them. Dozens of ships, hundreds, all bearing the purple symbol of the Dominion. His communication device crackled to life. The voice that came through it was one he recognized. High Sovereign. Ambassador Cole, the Sovereign said, I warned you that my daughter was defective. Now I know the truth is far worse. You have taken an architect from my world. Whether you knew what she was or not does not matter. She must be returned and destroyed. This is not negotiable. She has done nothing wrong, said. She exists. That is enough. The architects nearly ended all life in the universe. We cannot allow that threat to return. Surrender her now, or we will take her by force. The communication ended. Above them, the fleet began moving into attack formation. Looked at, can we escape? She studied the ships with her architect's eyes, analyzing their positions, their weapons, their weaknesses. Then she shook her head slowly. There are too many of them. No matter which direction we go, they will catch us. She paused. You should give me to them. What? If you surrender me, they will let you go. You can return to your people. You only chose me because you thought I was interesting. You did not know you were choosing a monster that the whole galaxy wants dead. Grabbed her hands. They were warm in his grip. I chose you because I saw something special in you, he said. I was right. You are more special than I ever imagined, and I am not giving you up. He pulled her toward their small ship, which was hidden in a cave nearby. Where are we going? Asked. To find help, said. If they want a war, I am going to show them what humans do when someone threatens our family. Felt something strange in her chest, a warmth that had nothing to do with her architect blood. No one had ever called her family before. She ran with him toward the ship, leaving the secrets of the Moon Library behind. Above them, the fleet prepared to pursue. The chase lasted 3 weeks across 12 star systems. The fleet followed, and everywhere they went. It grew larger every day as more ships joined from different parts of the Dominion. The High Sovereign had declared the greatest threat to galactic peace in 1,000,000 years. Every ship in existence had orders to capture or destroy her. But Cole was not an ordinary man. He had spent 20 years as a diplomat, traveling to hundreds of worlds, meeting thousands of different species. He had helped settle disputes, negotiate treaties, and prevent wars. Along the way, he had made friends. Now he called in every favor he had ever earned. On the planet, a race of fierce warriors remembered how it saved their children from a plague by convincing wealthy worlds to share their medicine. They sent 30 warships to guard his escape. In the nebula of forgotten stars, a group of traders remembered how had negotiated their freedom when they were falsely accused of smuggling. They hid his ship in their convoy and led thee in the wrong direction. On the station called Haven's Rest, refugees from a dozen dead worlds remembered how it fought for their right to settle on empty planets. They gave him fuel, supplies, and information about fleet movements. One by one, small groups joined the growing fleet that surrounded the Terran Dawn. Most of the ships were old and worn. Some were barely armed, but their crews were loyal to the human who had helped them when no one else would. Watched all of this with amazement. "I do not understand," she told one evening as they studied the tactical display. "These species have nothing in common. They are not connected by blood or telepathy or even language. Why do they risk their lives for you?" "Because I helped them once," said simply, "and now they want to help me." "But that makes no sense. They only help those who share their mind bond. Other species help those of their own blood. These are biological rules that have guided life in the galaxy for millions of years." Smiled. "Humans do things differently. We choose who we call family. We decide who deserves our loyalty. It is not about blood or telepathy. It is about something simpler." "What?" "Trust. We trust each other. And trust, once earned, is stronger than any biological bond." Thought about this for a long time. She had grown up in a world where connections were automatic, were born linked to each other. They did not choose their relationships. They simply had them. But humans chose, and in that choice there was something powerful. Meanwhile, his own abilities were growing. The fear and stress of running from the fleet had awakened something inside her. The architect gifts that had been sleeping her whole life were finally starting to wake up. It started small. She looked at the engine of their ship and suddenly understood how it worked, not just in a general way, but completely. She saw every part, every flow of energy, every point where efficiency was being lost. Without really thinking about it, she told the engineers how to make small changes. Their speed increased by 20%. Then she looked at their shields. The mathematics of the force fields made instant sense to her. She saw how to reshape them, how to make them stronger with less power. The changes she suggested made their shields nearly twice as effective. The crew of the Terran Dawn stopped calling her the defective bride. They started calling her the miracle worker. But was also scared. Every time she used her abilities, she remembered the hologram from the Moon Library. She remembered what the architects had done. They had built weapons that destroyed stars. They had killed billions. They had nearly ended all life everywhere. Was she becoming like them? One night she could not sleep. She went to the observation deck and stared at the stars, found her there. "You are thinking about the old architects," he said. Nodded. "Every time I use my gift, I feel it growing stronger. What if I cannot control it? What if I become what my people fear?" Stood beside her and looked at the same stars. "Let me tell you about human history," he said. "Long ago, humans discovered how to split atoms. This gave us incredible power. We could light cities, heal diseases, travel between worlds." That sounds wonderful. It was, but we also used that same power to build weapons, bombs that could destroy whole cities in a single flash. For a while, we had enough bombs to kill everyone on our planet many times over. Turned to look at him. "But you did not destroy yourselves." "No, we came close many times, but we made a choice. We decided that the power itself was not evil. We decided that we could be trusted with it. We built rules and agreements and systems to keep the power under control. We are still here." He put his hand on her shoulder. "The architects destroyed themselves because they had no one to help them make good choices. They were alone with their power, but you are not alone. You have me. You have this crew. You have everyone out there who is fighting for us." Felt tears in her eyes again. "I am afraid," she admitted. "Good," said. "Fear is healthy. It means you understand what is at stake. The old architects were not afraid. They thought they could do anything without consequences. You are already better than them because you know that power must be used carefully." Before they could say more, alarms sounded throughout the ship. Captain Tor's voice came through the speakers. "Ambassador, we have a problem. The fleet has caught up to us. They have surrounded us. There is no way out." And ran to the bridge. They showed a wall of warships in every direction. There were hundreds of them now. Their combined firepower could destroy a planet. In front of them, the Allied fleet that had joined looked very small. A communication request came from the flagship. The High Sovereign's face appeared on the screen. "Ambassador Cole," the Sovereign said, "you have led us on a long chase, but it is over now. My fleet surrounds you. Your allies are brave, but they cannot save you. Surrender my daughter and I will let everyone else live." Looked at, she was standing straight, her dark eyes moving constantly as she studied the enemy fleet. He could see her architect mind working, analyzing, calculating. "Give me a moment," he said to the Sovereign. He muted the communication and turned to, "Can you see a way out?" Was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke in a voice that was calm and certain. "I can see many things," she said. "I can see the weakness in their formation. I can see how to disable their weapons with a specific frequency pulse. I can see how to modify our shields to resist their attack." She paused. "I can see how to build weapons that would destroy them all." The bridge went silent. Everyone stared at her. "But I am not going to do that," continued. "I am not going to become what my people fear. I am going to do something different." "What?" asked. Looked at him with eyes that were no longer afraid. "I am going to talk to them," she said, "all of them at once, and I am going to tell them the truth." She walked to the communication console and began working faster than anyone could follow. Her architect gifts were fully awake now. Her fingers moved like lightning over the controls. "What are you doing?" Captain Torres demanded. "I am building something," said. "Something that has never been built before. A way to speak without telepathy. A way to be heard by everyone, everywhere, all at the same time." She looked up at with a small smile. "You taught me that trust is built through choice," she said. "Now I am going to give my people a choice they have never had before." The console lit up with power. Something incredible was about to happen. The signal went out to every ship in the fleet. But it did not stop there. Had built something that amplified and repeated and spread through every communication network in the sector. Within minutes, her voice was reaching every in 12-star systems. She did not use telepathy. She used sound and light and technology. She forced them to listen with their ears instead of their minds. "My name is," she began, "seventh daughter of High Sovereign. You call me defective. You call me broken. You call me dangerous. Today I am going to tell you the truth about what I am. And then I am going to give you something that I have not had in a million years. A choice." On the bridge of the Terran Dawn, watched with pride as spoke. Her voice was calm and clear. She did not sound like a monster or a weapon. She sounded like a person who had finally found her courage. "A million years ago, our ancestors called themselves the architects. They built wonders that we cannot even imagine today. They constructed spheres around stars. They opened doorways to other dimensions. They were creators, but they were also destroyers." The holographic images from the Moon Library appeared on every screen in the fleet. The ancient architects and their incredible creations. The war that nearly ended everything. The decision to change themselves into the telepathic. Our ancestors chose to give up their gifts because they feared what they might do with them, continued. But they made a mistake. They did not teach us to make better choices. They simply took away our ability to choose at all. They turned us into a species that could only think one way, feel one way, be one way. She paused. Her dark eyes looked directly into the camera. I was born different. I cannot share thoughts with my mind. I cannot feel what others feel through telepathy. But I can see things that my people have forgotten how to see. I can build things that my people have forgotten how to build. I am not defective. I am what we used to be. I am an architect. The High Sovereign's voice broke through the broadcast. This is exactly why she must be destroyed. The architects nearly killed everyone. She admits it herself. Yes, replied calmly. The architects nearly destroyed everything. But that was because they had no connection to each other. They could not feel what others felt. They built weapons without understanding the pain those weapons would cause. She held up her hands. They were warm. Everyone could see them glowing slightly with inner heat. But I am not like the old architects. I grew up among telepaths. I watched my people share love and pain and joy through their minds. I learned to understand emotions by watching faces and bodies. I may not feel what you feel directly, but I have learned to see it. I have learned to care. She turned to look at and the crew around her. And I have learned something else, something that humans taught me. I have learned that we can choose who we are. We are not prisoners of our blood or our genes or our history. Every day, we can decide to be better than we were yesterday. The fleet was silent. No weapons were firing. No orders were being given. Everyone was listening. I know you are afraid of me, said. I understand. The architects were terrible, but I am not asking you to trust me blindly. I am asking you to watch me. I am asking you to see what I choose to do with my gifts. She touched a control on her console. New images appeared on the screens. I have been studying your fleet while you chased me. I found weaknesses. I saw ways to destroy you. I could have built weapons that would have ended this fight in seconds. She paused. But I did not. Instead, I built this. A way to talk to you. A way to tell you the truth. A way to give you a choice. She took a deep breath. Here is what I know. In 50 years, your enemies will develop weapons that attack telepathic networks directly. Your mind links, the thing that makes you, will become your greatest weakness. When that happens, you will have no way to defend yourselves. The nobles began to murmur with concern. This was something they had never considered. But I can help you, continued. I can build defenses that do not rely on telepathy. I can create shields and systems that will protect you. I can remember the knowledge that was lost when the architects changed themselves, not to build weapons, to build protection. She looked directly at the High Sovereign's ship. Father, you can destroy me today. You can eliminate the last architect bloodline forever, but that will not save our people. It will only delay the end. Or you can let me live, let me work, let me build, and in return I will give our people a future. The High Sovereign appeared on the screen. His ancient face was troubled. For the first time since could remember, he looked uncertain. How do I know you will not become like the old architects? He asked. How do I know you will not build weapons that destroy us all? Smiled sadly. You do not know, that is what makes it a choice. You can choose to trust me or you can choose fear. But if you choose fear, you will lose everything eventually anyway. There was a long silence. The entire galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Then stepped forward. If I may speak, Sovereign, he said. I have known your daughter for only a few weeks, but I have seen her save lives. I have seen her refuse to build weapons when she easily could have. I have seen her choose kindness when cruelty would have been easier. He took his warm hand in his. Humans are young compared to your people. We do not have telepathy or architect gifts, but we have learned something important over our short history. We have learned that trust is always a risk, but without that risk, nothing good can ever grow. The High Sovereign stared at the human holding his daughter's hand. He thought about the war that had prevented through wisdom and patience. He thought about the allies who had come to fight for this small, strange species that lived such short lives, but chose their connections so powerfully. "Stand down," the sovereign finally said to his fleet. The admirals and captains looked surprised. "Sovereign," one of them asked. "I said stand down. We will not destroy my daughter today." He paused. "We will watch her instead. We will see what she chooses to build, and if she proves worthy of trust, perhaps we will learn something new." The fleet slowly moved back, opening a path through their formation. On the bridge of the Terran Dawn, the crew began to cheer, pulled into an embrace. She was warm in his arms, warmer than any should be, but that warmth felt right. "You did it," he whispered. "You gave them a choice and they chose well." "No," said softly. "We did it. You taught me that I was not a monster. Without that, I would never have had the courage to speak." 5 years later stood in a laboratory on a world. Around her, young people worked at various stations. Some of them glowed with telepathic light. Others, like her, were dull and gray. They were the hidden ones, the defectives, the throwbacks who had been discovered in the years since broadcast. Once they would have been quietly eliminated. Now they were students in the first Architect Academy in a million years. They were learning to build. Not weapons, not machines of destruction. They were learning to build shields, defenses, systems that would protect them from the threats that were coming. They were learning to create wonders that would help, not harm. Found there watching her students work. His hair was gray now. Humans aged quickly compared to, but his eyes were still sharp and kind. "Any regrets?" he asked, the same question he had asked her many times over the years. Took his hand. It was cool compared to hers, but she had grown to love that coolness. "Only one," she said. "I spent so many years believing I was broken. I wasted so much time hating myself for being different. And now I know the truth." She smiled at him with more warmth than her species had shown in a million years. Being different was never the problem. The problem was that no one knew how to see differently. Until you. Around them, the students continued their work. Telepaths and architects side by side. Two kinds of learning from each other. Two gifts that had been separated for so long, finally coming together. And at the heart of it all, a simple human truth that had changed everything. Sometimes the greatest treasures are found where no one else thinks to look. Outside the laboratory windows, the stars shone bright with possibility. The galaxy was changing. Old fears were giving way to new hopes, and in the middle of it all, a human and an architect held hands and watched the future being built. It was going to be beautiful.